We have been using Printavo for a long time, probably since 2017, and we added InkSoft about maybe a year and a half ago, and then GraphicsFlow shortly thereafter. Printavo was always our main source of running our shop and doing all of our production, but lately it's almost as if you don't have e-commerce, you're really behind the game. A lot of people are now conditioned to want and need team stores, corporate stores, fundraiser stores, and all of that. So we really decided that it was something that we needed if we were going to be competitive or get an edge. So we added that because InkSoft is really the forward-facing, e-commerce solution, and Printavo is really the front of the line for the production management and the shop management. So to be able to blend those two together, and we realized a need for it. So here in town, in Buffalo, it's a very small town, about 5,000 people. We have been able to leverage those merch stores through InkSoft and really grow our business. We've only been here for about 9 months, but one store will turn into three will turn into 9. And so it's kind of this exponential growth that we've been experiencing with those. We'll do a fundraiser store for a school or a team, and then a handful of parents will have a business or an organization where they could use that same functionality. So we make sure that on every single store we have at the bottom of it, if you need something like this or want something like this, contact us, reach out. And it's really kind of crazy. I think we probably had, when we moved to Buffalo, it was probably maybe 3 or 5 stores. I just looked today, we're actually up to almost 20 stores, which is pretty incredible. And then GraphicsFlow has just been great for us too, just to get rid of those art bottlenecks, to add templates in there. The retail space is new for us, so I've actually been playing around with GraphicsFlow a lot to come up with some of those retail-friendly designs to have in the front when people come through the shop and are looking for that tourist t-shirt. But the interplay between all of them, and really the game changer for us, was we knew we needed InkSoft because of its e-commerce capabilities. So in the interim, we were kind of just taking those orders, printing them out, and just running production. I wasn't manually re-entering anything. I know there's some shops that do that. So with this integration, to be able to just push all of this data over and run our production through Printavo has been a huge time saver and just has been working really well for us. All of your orders for all of your e-commerce are coming through this one system. They're coming through to this orders portal. Once these orders are ready to be produced is really where you're using Printavo, right? So you're using Printavo for your back-end production. So you're going to see a lot of these orders are already in Printavo. That's going to let you know that they did land over there. And, for one-offs and for different things that people are maybe just doing a DTF transfer, I'm not necessarily grouping a job together onto the Printavo calendar. When I do go over to Printavo here, and I go over to my InkSoft stores, and you can see it really in any of your orders, here is once you convert those orders from InkSoft, and they actually become an order, you're going to see it shows up under new orders, and that's where you would group them together. All of these orders here are coming over from InkSoft, and these were orders that were converted. Either someone put an order in for a team store, or it was a quote or something like that. For a one-off piece, you're probably not going to put a box on your Printavo calendar. You're probably just going to take that packing slip or work order from InkSoft. But when you're ready to go ahead and put a box on your production calendar, or a job is what I consider it, I would go into that store. Here are all of your orders that are coming over from InkSoft for that particular store. Now, you're not going to go in and click into each one of these and print a packing slip and try and group those orders together. So what people do for Printavo is they're able to take any of these orders that they want and make it a job on their calendar. Now, a lot of times it's a team store that's open and then it shuts down after 2 weeks. So they want to do everything at one time. So they're going to check that box and grab all of those orders, and then they're going to add it. So when they add to that job, they're putting that job to the customer, and then they're creating the job on that calendar. Once that's created, you're going to see any orders from that store are now going to be considered in production, and they're going to be able to grab all that information right here on that invoice. So what I do next in my shop is I'll click into that particular job on the calendar. Now, invoice versus quote, really just a visual indicator for the customer. But what I consider this is a job, because it's not invoicing anyone. It's not requesting payment. Really, it's just aggregating all those orders so you can do them at one time. So what you see here is all of those orders that I grabbed. It now tells me how many t-shirts and how many sweatshirts I need for those particular orders. how many water bottles were ordered, right? How many polos were ordered for that particular store, how many of these Navy crew necks. And so all of the imprint information comes over from InkSoft as well. And so now at this point, it defaults to a status called compiled InkSoft store. Now, this is where you can use your production statuses, your job calendar, your tasks, your automations to work this through your system. And at this point in our shop, I would add this to the Power Scheduler. In order to get something onto the Power Scheduler, it needs a type of work. So the first thing that you have to do is go ahead in here and change these to whatever type of work that they are. These were screen print. These were embroidery. So if they had changed this status to ready to art, it would automatically add this to Power Scheduler. Otherwise, they can just manually add it to the Power Scheduler. There's all those imprints separated out. And at this point, they can use all of the custom line item statuses here for their different shops and their different workflows to work everything through their production calendar. You can keep these production statuses pretty generic and not break them down by imprint type. So think about that store order that we just converted. There was 4 or 5 different imprint types. It would be impossible to really show as a status what was going on with that job. You know, you're doing different things for signage and sublimation versus screen print and embroidery. So that's why it's crucial to hand this off to the Power Scheduler. And that's really the use case there. These micro steps here are specific to the shop and they're specific to the workflow. So a lot of shops will say, well, I'm not scheduling jobs on machines, or I'm not, I don't have a lot of equipment. It's just me and it's just a one piece of equipment. That doesn't matter. I'm using this list view a lot. This is really where I start. And sometimes I see a lot of shops just stay in this list view for that reason, is they're deciding what their micro steps are and then their micro completion statuses. And then they're using this as a checklist and a very generic status. Of course, you can use this group view over here to schedule these jobs on machines. Everything drops into the unscheduled and unassigned bucket, and then you can drag and drop them over into different Ds. This number is the amount of time you assign for a particular machine. For smaller shops, it's crucial to understand how important the Power Scheduler is. For us, we break things down. So if I have someone that's just doing my receiving, all they need to see is this receiving status so that when a job comes in, they can pull that job and then just check off what's going on with that job. They don't need to see anything else. And so a lot of shops will use this for maybe a screen room or an art room, right? Your screen guy just wants to see what he needs to be able to do for that day or what screens he has and what statuses they're in. Of course, you can also break it down by stations, or if you have different locations, this is another excellent way to manage multiple locations on the same Printavo. We have a station for our Pennsylvania location. We have a station for our Wyoming location. And then, of course, you can break it down by the calendar view as well. And then a lot of this can be automated too. Maybe when the screens are completed, you can make a status change automatically to do something else. So it's very, very hyper customizable. And all of these views, you can make your own views and take things away, add things in, and really just see what you want to see. You get to customize what these micro steps are for your shop. Now, when this order is done, they'll change this to a status, maybe like order ready for pickup, just so that their team knows that this job is done. But what they still have to do is they have to mark this as ready to ship or pick up in InkSoft. When they do that, all of those orders are going to be over in InkSoft in that ready to ship or ready to pick up. And it's even going to give you a little indicator right here. Now, the other thing that's really cool about this is when you click on product details, it's actually going to let the shop know exactly what customer ordered those particular goods and what order that was related to. And then you can always click into this and see exactly that order. So it's nice use case here. If maybe you were missing 3 or 4 larges, they were misprinted. You can click on the product details and then directly go to that InkSoft order and contact that customer to let them know, hey, those are going to be a little bit late. What it does down here for storefronts, you see the orders in production, and then here are those 5 that are ready to ship or pick up. So these are the orders that we had sent over to InkSoft and to be able to ship and pick those up. So at this point, what I do is either go right over to InkSoft, or I'll open a link in a new tab directly to that store. And then I will see all of my orders, and here are the ones that are ready to ship right from that store. This actually will filter it out for you. And so you can see all of these in here. clicked into the ready to ship, here's all of those orders that we had just fulfilled right over from Printavo. And it shows that that's marked in Printavo. Really, the use case is all of those individual micro orders that are part of a bigger store. We need an easy way to produce them and group them together so we can order goods and produce everything at one time and then seamlessly go back over into InkSoft in order to do the shipping and fulfillment process. It's easy to get overwhelmed as a business owner. You feel like there's so many things that are going on. There's so many things that you guys have to worry about and that you have your hand in all of this stuff. I would just say, and I still have to remind myself, you just have to take it one step at a time, right? And it's making that first step that's the hardest, I think. My biggest regret with Printavo was not signing on sooner. We had kicked the can down the road for so long because we just couldn't do one more thing. And it has changed our business. It's helped us scale and grow. And if there's, that one piece of advice is don't sacrifice having perfection for delaying some kind of progress, right? Just a little bit at a time and just make a step because it's not going to change if you don't do something.